we'll go forward from here. So, again, I just want to welcome my colleague Sandy Doss. Sandy is with us today. She's even a parent of a recent OSU grad, so she's definitely within the OSU family. Yes, she manages the Mayflower partnerships for all the Pacific Northwest, and she's with us here today to talk about this great tour. Our new French and Italian Riviera tour does visit Corsica, and it's one of the small ship or small boat gems. It's they're calling it a yacht, and it's called the Emerald Azura, and it only has 50 cabins. But don't worry, it doesn't have a price tag like a super expensive boat. It's a great trip. Um, so on this tour, I have here a little bit about kind of what are the different things that are included on the trip, and we'll talk a little bit more about these as we go. The trip does begin in Nice and in France, and then it follows the coastline to Menton and over to Portofino. And then from there, you stop at Elba Island and continue to Corsica. You visit Calvi and Bonifacio. And then on the way back to mainland Italy, you'll stop at Porto Ercole before ending the cruise in Rome. The trip doesn't include Rome. So if you want to stay in Rome, you can extend your trip a little bit longer to explore Rome. We have some pre-cruise and post-cruise options. You are immediately at ease in the climate and the beautiful blue beaches of the Mediterranean when you arrive in Nice. It does definitely combine the best cosmopolitan aspects of Europe with breathtaking coastlines. The tour, as I said, officially begins here, but if you want to arrive early, there is a pre-trip option. It's a beach destination as well. It's famous for its arts and culture, and especially if you want to stroll the Promenade des Glaciers, and it's just this big long strip all along the coast. 7 miles. The road was built in the 19th century, starts at the airport to the west and extends all the way to the headlands in the east. And pick a section of it to enjoy. Or if you love to go jogging, this would be a great place to get a 7-mile run in the morning, if you so choose. So Sandy, what do you think about Nice? Why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about
this? I'd like you all to know that I guess if I'm going to become a runner and start running, maybe this would be a place that I could do that with. And, I'll piggyback off of what you said, Kate, because this is a brand new ship, and you're going to see images today, you guys. She just begins sailing in January of this next year in 2022. And Kate was very pointed in defining the date for October of 22 because we wanted to kind of get up and over all things related to our recent pandemic and the experiences of that. So this is exciting because this is the back end of 2022. And but as she said, this is spectacular, you guys. This ship was built to be really intimate sailing. I call it off the beaten track kind of sailing because it's small enough that we're going to be pulling into these very small harbors and communities that most ships and sailings never touch. They couldn't possibly access this area. And like as you begin in Nice, this is really between Nice and Rome. These are the two most populous areas for you guys. So this is second to Paris in population size, but the museums here, this is a mecca for just incredible arts and culture as she shared. And so we'll begin our adventures here in Nice. And I do recommend the 2-day extension because I think it gives you the time to settle in for the time change. So that's an option before we board and take off.
Yeah. And then, so when you do get on your boat the first night, you're going to travel usually in the evening to your next destination. And we're going to stop in Menton. I thought it was Menton, but it's Menton. And it's also in France. Very small, quaint city. Best of everything, warm climate, gardens, cuisine, French and Italian food. And it's smaller than Monte Carlo. And it's smaller than Nice, and it has a real village feel. What are your favorite things, Sandy, about this area?
Oh my gosh. Well, first off, I think when y'all think of this area, when people think of the Italian Rivieras, we think of Monte Carlo, and that's where, people that's the iconic, right? Montan is like part of this start of all of these communities of the French and Italian Riviera, where you're in places that were once Italian, now they're French, or once French, now they're Italian. So you have this real cultural mix. And as Elizabeth was sharing, you're in these spectacular regions. You can kind of see here in the mountainous region there behind. But these are, in some cases, fishing villages that have kind of grown up, cobblestone streets. My favorite part of Montan, you guys, is that it has its own climate. This is actually the sunniest location in all of the Italian and French Rivieras. So you have this chance to have this extraordinary, beautiful weather and the blue Azores, so to speak. And so that makes it very charming. And, again, you can still go visit Monaco. You can still visit Eze. So there's a lot to do in this region.
Yes, then after that, they'll go on off to Portofino, and Portofino, we'd say, is one of the most picturesque towns in the Italian Riviera. It is absolutely stunning, and it's a great fishing village. Cobblestone squares, corridors overlooking the blue sea. It's beautiful. Hillsides are filled with the colorful houses.
Oh my God, Kate!
Like behind me.
When you cruise into Portofino, this is going to be like one of those, because you see these really colorful, homes that dot these hillsides that you're seeing here. There's a beautiful gelato place right where we dock. That's really worth going. But you're in, I'm going to be honest, you're sort of arriving to a place of the rich and famous. Who was the guy that used to be the voice of the rich and famous? You remember that guy? Gosh,
no.
I'm totally forgetting his name. But I feel like we should all be holding a glass of champagne as we come in. This is the possibility. You might meet George Clooney. You might meet Matt Damon. I don't know who you're going to meet when you get off the ship. But
and I want those if you do.
Listen, I'm going to give you all my personal cell number, and you won't tell my husband that you exchanged my cell number with him. Thank you. It's Robin Leach. Robin
Good
Leach.
job.
That's who it is. Like, this is where I think Robin Leach just comes and speaks to all of us in our heads. But great strolling experiences here, but this is really the playground of the rich and famous. And, she made a comment, this is a discovery yacht, but I call it affordable yachting, if there is such a thing. It really is not at the cost. It is a yacht, but it's not at the cost of what most people would perceive a yacht cost to be.
Yeah. And you've got some optional things. There's a great hilltop sanctuary, Our Lady of the pronounce that,
Monteangro.
Yes, thank you. Good job.
And also too, I'm sorry, let me add one thing to this. We have a swim deck that is part of your sailing. And you guys, there is a kayaking trip that's here in this bay. It's called Taquillo Bay. And it's a marine protected area. So if you do have, I come from the sciences, so I gravitate to those kinds of things. And this trip sort of offers this well-balanced environmental aspect where we're really taking in the sea, we're taking in the landscape, but then we're also taking in the culture and the history of these areas.
That's great. That's great. So that's just one. And then we're going to move on to Puerto Ferrario, right?
Close.
Hopefully it's
Puerto
close.
Ferrario.
It's on Elba Island. And it's not as famous as Sicily, but it's kind of known for that kind of feel for it. It's a bit of a secret area around the Italian Riviera. It's where the locals go. So that if the locals are going there, it's one of the best. So the lines, the crowds, you won't find it in this area.
And in fact, that's the part that I love about being able to come into a harbor with this smaller ship, because you're actually coming to islands that the locals are visiting, that it's not really known, particularly for Americans, but even, foreign tourists across the board. But the other thing that I think is really cool about Elba is this is where Napoleon, you guys, was exiled, was to this island. Now, you know, I kind of kidded Kate because I gave her this piece of information early on, and I said, Kate, can you imagine like this would be the place you'd be exiled? You know,
Sign me up.
I would want to be exiled. And he was only there for, you guys, like not more than a couple years, but there's a lot of history about that time and sort of what happened during that time and the places that he was a part of or built up. And so it's really fascinating. You get a rich history here, even back to the 16th century. So
Yeah.
Kind of really exciting in that way.
That's great. So of course, like in all the stops, you have all sorts of options, hiking and going in the kayaks and culture and or just walking around the villages. So
Yeah,
it's a
all
lot of fun.
escorted and all with local expertise. So it's not an
Yeah.
American telling you about something.
And then we head over to Corsica. So Corsica is a great island that not a lot of tours actually go to. And it is, again, stunning, surrounded by mountains, forests, the sea. It's beautiful. There's an old town area, and then there's also up in the hillsides a beautiful citadel. So you know, stroll around these paved streets, discover all the little shops, local crafts. What's your favorite thing about this area?
Well, okay, so there is much dialogue, and you'll hear this, you guys, when you're there, as to this is the birthplace of Christopher Columbus. But there is a bit of, there is no birth certificate. So there is a dialogue about him being from another part of Italy or here in Corsica. And Calvi is on the northwest side of the island. And you're actually going to be visiting both the north and the southern tip of this island, which is going to be uniquely different depending on if you're in Upper Corsica or Lower Corsica. I mentioned earlier that wild boar is a delicacy in this area, but there is a lot of unique dishes. And I know I didn't say all about the foods of these islands and these visits that you're having, but I would say in each port of call, there is some unique dishes that are really specific to that culture, that community, that region, the way that we're experiencing the wines of these really particular regions. There's an appellation here in Corsica, I think, that you're going to enjoy. And so again, we come right into this beautiful, promenade. How do you say that?
Promenade.
Yeah.
And then we travel to the other side of the island, other side of Corsica, to Bonifacio, and it is known for the city of these limestone cliffs. I mean, the whole area is kind of perched up on these beautiful cliffs. And there's one, as you come in, you might be able to see the staircase that goes all the way down from the top, stairs that were carved into the cliffside down to the bottom of the sea, and it's super steep, 187 stairs. So if you need some exercise.
Well, because you last ran in Nice, so I guess you can climb the stairs in Bonifacio.
Right, if you don't use the gym on the ship.
Yeah, if you don't use the gym. And as Kate says this, it's a limestone, cliff laden. So now we're in southern Corsica, and you come into this harbor kind of following, as you see here, it's a very narrow channel. And so it sort of has that buildup as you're coming into the harbor. You can even see the caves here on the end. But there's the opportunities for us here, to enjoy the Citadel, which is kind of the area right here on the end. That is the iconic entrance to Bonifacio. And so we'll learn a lot about the history and the importance of this citadel. And also there's abbeys that we'll be visiting. Something I didn't mention because, and I should have, because that's what we're talking about here is wines, but you will have several visits with some really unique wineries and get to explore the heritage of those grapes and those wines. One of those is called La Chusa Winery, and it was built in the 16th century, and Napoleon was involved in it. So, so you'll find these really interesting kind of intricate webs, I would say, of history and and leisure and wine. How's that?
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. And then we'll move to Porto Ercole, a delightful seaside town on the Tuscan coast. It's still just gorgeous, rugged green hillsides, hidden coves and harbors. It is a historical center, little stone villages, and the town does also have a strong fishing tradition. And it's still a fishing area
Yeah,
today.
this one's definitely much more of a fishing village.
Yeah, you'll find lots of fishermen on the shores mending their nets and taking care of their boats. And it's just a beautiful natural harbor to go visit.
And something else I'll add to this, in some parts of Greece, I've had this experience. This is a pedestrian only community, so you are not encountering cars. You are it's just the sounds of the sea and the people and life there on the coast. And I just find that so charming, and very narrow little meandery kind of experiences here.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing too about this trip is if you've been on larger boats, sometimes you have to dock pretty far out and then get
you get in the little boat,
get in a little boat and
takes
taken in. Yeah. Or they're too big to get to the harbors, or even you'll end up docking kind of far away from where you want to visit, so then you end up in coaches and you're driving to the city to see it. And whenever on all these stops, you're right there. So there's no research that has to be done of, okay, do I have to jump on a coach in order to get to this place? I mean, you're there. All that's done for you. So it's that's kind of a really nice part about it as well. And then
you have a castle here that you visit too. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah. It's just, the whole thing is just pretty. And then you do end just outside of Rome. This is the one spot you don't actually land in Rome, but we stop at the port outside of Rome. Rome is little bit of a drive from here, but this is where the trip ends. So if you do want to see Rome, that's where you'd either extend on your own, or if you want to extend on a post tour to be able to see Rome and all that area, you would take off from this point on the tour. But I mean, as we said, it is a really great ship. Here's an overview of what from the top of what it looks like, showing the variety of different decks.
So you sort of see that this is, and I got to jump in because I got to tell you, we have never been so excited about, we own in total 28 river cruising vessels and 2 ocean ships. And so this yacht was actually modeled after a ship that we have in Antarctica. And you guys, it's 100 people, 50 cabins, that's it, 50 cabins. And it is 64 staff. So you're, almost one-to-one staffing, but it has 5 decks, and you have the infinity pool as you see here up at the top. You then have a sun deck with a hot tub at the very top. So here's the yachting sense. But then on the back here, you have this swim deck, and it's got kayaks and stand-up paddle boards and swimming, and there's just a whole lot of spaces for you to spread out. There's beautiful verandas. And, Kate, if I also want to add, from a spacious perspective, we're not on a big ocean liner. We're on a 50 cabin boat. So the rooms start at 405 square feet, you guys, and then go up to 1,195 square feet.
So when Sandy told me, I just started laughing because my first house was 970 square feet. So I laugh that this room on a boat is bigger than my first home.
Yeah, you're not shimmying around your bed at all. And there is no inside cabins. You all have these beautiful balconies or verandas, if you wish. And so it really is kind of a game changer a little bit in the world of sailing, and particularly intimate sailing. And the other thing I'll mention, I know we're looking at the rooms, but there's a nice cadence between your guided excursions, all the activities you're going to do when you're out and about in each port of call. You sail at night, arrive in the morning, you have the whole day. So it's not a, short get in, get out kind of thing. Yeah. You have a long window. But then also you have all of these optionals. Usually in every sailing, there's about 17 different choices that you guys have on the kinds of activities. And then what she's showing here, just to give a quick sweep there, multiple dining. So here you are in this small vessel, but yet you have the lounging area, we have the Horizons restaurant, but then we also have the veranda and the alfresco dining outside, which you're going to take advantage of. The waters at this time of year, you guys, is about 80 degrees. But
Nice.
you know, some people will want to have short wetsuits. You might consider that, but it's pretty darn comfortable as far as the temps, even daytime temps outside.
So as you can tell, Sandy and I could go on and on about this tour.
Yeah,
but
we
then I
can. This one we're dreaming over.
realize what time it is, and we're run over, so we're sorry about that. So if you do decide, just let us know, and we'll help hook you up on this great trip. And if you decide to go out, you know, anytime, be sure to check these government websites for your CDC regulations and your travel advisories before you go on any vacation these days, because things are changing, as you know, like crazy. And a great way to stay connected with the travel program is on our Facebook page. It's the Facebook Travel Community. The link is here at the bottom. And then you can also just Google the OSU Alumni and Friends Travel Community and find us there. But that's all we have for today. So thank you very much, Elizabeth, for joining us. That was wonderful. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sandy, for joining us as well. And
so much.
I know, me too. I learned a lot. And we hope you all have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thank you, everybody.